pewter skin. Even from here, Conrad could see that the longshore set was still running west to east, a sporadic event that occurred when a tendril of warm water broke free of the Gulf Stream, snaking northwards, assisted on its lazy passage by the sustained southwesterly blow. The marked rise in sea temperature was welcomed by the ever-increasing number of city people who populated the ocean beach from Memorial Day to Labor Day. It lured them beyond the relative safety of the crashing surf into the deeper water, with its counterintuitive jostle of currents. Fortunately, the warmer waters were awash with bait, and with the bait came the predators, bluefish and striped bass, which in turn attracted an even larger predator, man. Many owed their lives to the happy conjunction of treacherous swimming conditions and increased fishing activity off the ocean beach. Many were those who'd been plucked, limp and spluttering, from the water into one of the little dories used by the local surfmen.
"She's on the turn,"
said Rollo, meaning the set, not the tide. By noon, the vast body of water in motion would grind to a halt, then slowly turn back on itself. The natural order would prevail once more, with the current scouring the coast from east to west. Interesting, but hardly worthy of a pre-dawn rousing.
"Remind me to be angry with you when I wake,"
muttered Conrad, turning to leave.
"Whale off!"
Everyone knew the call to arms, though it was no longer heard on Long Island, the days of shore whaling some 40 years past. Conrad turned back slowly.
"Bound eastward, inside the bar."
"You sure?"
"Unless you saw a 50-foot bass before,"
grinned Rollo. They scanned the ocean in silence, the hoarse cries of a few black-backed gulls wheeling overhead. Suddenly, Rollo's arm shot out. A patch of whorls and eddies ruffled the surface 100 yards offshore. Moments later, the whale broke water and blew, two distinct jets caught in the sun's earliest rays.
"Right whale,"
observed Rollo, but Conrad was already gone, padding down the side of the dune to the beach. For an hour they tracked the Leviathan on its journey eastwards, their faces warmed by the rising sun. They walked in silence, not needing to share their thoughts. Right whales hadn't been sighted off Amagansett for decades. Hunted to near extinction, they had once been a cornerstone of life on the South Fork. 300 years previously, when a straggle of English families first appeared in the woods a few miles to the west, they found the local Montaukett Indians already preying on the migrating schools that roamed the ocean beach, going off through the treacherous winter surf in their dugout canoes. Those first white settlers pegged out a community around a slender marsh, fashioning cellar shelters from the trees they had felled, naming their new home Maidstone after the English town where most had sprung from. 14 years later, when the hamlet rechristened itself East Hampton, the dwellings had crept above ground, the early soddies replaced by New England salt-box houses, clad in cypress shingles and insulated against the sharp winters with seaweed and corncobs. The marsh had been excavated to create the town pond, and the townsmen were in effective control of a small, burgeoning, and highly profitable shore whaling industry. Rollo strode towards the water's edge, waving his arms.
"Away with you! Ooh, woo!"
The whale had altered its course and was heading inshore at an angle to the beach. With a lazy flick of its giant flukes, it sounded.
"She's gonna beach!"
cried Rollo. He started running, set on heading the whale off. When Conrad caught up with him, he was standing in the wash, oblivious to the waves breaking around him, scouring the ocean. Without warning, the whale surfaced beyond the white water to their left. At this short distance, the sheer bulk of the creature filled their vision, deadening all other senses.
"Ooh! Ooh! Yah! Yah!"
A rogue wave caught Rollo broadside, sending him sprawling. Conrad hauled him to his feet, dragging him up the beach, but Rollo pulled free, stumbling back into the wash. The waves became clouded with churned sand where the whale had grounded. Conrad was struck by the bitter irony. Rollo Kemp, grandson of the legendary whaleman Captain Josh Kemp, the last man to take a whale off the ocean beach. Rollo Kemp